Let's go Browns! The Cleveland Browns are quietly preparing one of the boldest trade deadline moves we've seen in years. Just imagine, not one, not two, but potentially three blockbuster deals that could completely transform the offense, bolster the defense, and turn the AFC North upside down. Sources are buzzing, insiders are leaking names, and the front office, led by Andrew Berry, is working harder than ever. This isn't a lie. It's not speculation. This is real, and the Browns could be on the verge of something impressive. But who's on the table? What are the asking prices? And how would these moves reshape our playoff push in 2025? Before we continue, hit the like button if you want to see Berry make his move and bring new firepower to Cleveland. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Which of these moves do you want most? Which player do you think would be a game changer for us? Let's talk about all the big names, the rumored trades, and why this deadline could be a defining moment for the Browns' future. Without further ado, let's get right to it. The Browns rank last in yards of separation and second to last in rushing. That's not just bad, it's brutal. For any quarterback, young or veteran, those numbers make moving the chains nearly impossible. And when their so-called WR1, Jerry Jeudy, leads the entire NFL and drops with 8, the writing is on the wall. Andrew Berry needs to act, and fast. Enter Chris Olave. The New Orleans Saints wide receiver and former Ohio State star isn't just a nostalgic pick for the Ohio State faithful, he's also a legitimate playmaker when healthy. ESPN and insider Ricky Scoops have confirmed that the Saints are now open to moving him. This is a huge shift from their offseason stance, where they weren't even considering offers. Now, they're listening, they're sellers, and the Browns are in dire need. Olave brings elite route running, top-notch separation, and deep playmaking potential. Yes, there's some concern surrounding his concussion history, but that's precisely why a trade might be viable. Ricky Scoops, who predicted Micah Parsons' trade before it happened, is getting it right with over 90% accuracy based on his insider information, and he's on top of the Olave to Cleveland trade. Could a third-round pick solve the problem? Possibly. Maybe it takes a second, but when your offense is faltering and your top receivers are responsible, you make that choice without hesitation. Then there's Jakobi Meyers, another wide receiver heavily rumored to be on the move. Reports out of Las Vegas are heating up, with Meyers reportedly frustrated over his contract situation, zero guaranteed money in 2025, and requesting a trade as early as August 25th. Adam Schefter has listed him as a top trade candidate, and Raiders insiders say he's the most likely player to be moved before the deadline. Meyers isn't flashy, but he's reliable. He's consistent. He catches the ball. The Browns need that more than anything right now. Imagine a scenario where Cleveland lands both Olave and Meyers. That wide receiver room goes from one of the worst in the NFL to one of the most complete. Think about how that changes the dynamic for any quarterback under center. No more relying on broken plays or begging tight ends to bail you out. You'd have real, trusted weapons outside the numbers. And now, for the wild card, Jalen Waddle. Yes, seriously. Sources say the Dolphins are listening to calls not only on Jalen Phillips, but also on Waddle and Raheem Mostert. And if Miami is even slightly considering moving Waddle, Cleveland has to be at the front of the line. This is a 1,000 plus yard receiver 3 years running. A deep threat, a mismatch nightmare. The price tag? Likely a first-round pick, but the Browns have two. Even if it means giving up the better of the 2 first-rounders, this is the kind of bold, aggressive move that contenders make. Think about Waddle and Kevin Stefanski's offense, paired with Amari Cooper, Meyers, or Olave, and a healthy David Njoku. That completely reshapes Cleveland's offensive identity. Suddenly, defenses can't stack the box. They can't double team. They can't breathe. Now let's talk strategy, because this is where Andrew Berry has quietly built one of the more flexible rosters in the NFL. The Browns are both buyers and sellers right now, an extremely rare position to be in. We've seen it already. Cleveland dealt Greg Newsome but brought in Tyson Campbell, trading future for stability in the secondary. They moved Joe Flacco, but brought in Cam Robinson. They're retooling on the fly, and it's working. This is a front office that understands timing. And right now, the clock is ticking toward that November 4th deadline. What's even more compelling is the Browns' offensive line situation, perhaps the team's biggest hidden weakness. Injuries and inconsistency have plagued the tackle spots. Cam Robinson is leaking pressure. Jack Conklin is hurt again. Depth options like Cornelius Lucas and KT Leong have been turnstiles. It's bad. So how about a name that hasn't gotten much love nationally but could be a hidden gem, Jermaine Illuminor? The Giants' right tackle is quietly having a very strong season. Through week 6, he has a PFF pass blocking grade over 71 and has allowed just 6 sacks over 760 pass blocking snaps in the last 2 seasons. Versatile, experienced, and reliable, he's exactly what Cleveland needs. The only problem? New York reportedly wants to extend him. But according to PFF, the framework for a deal exists, and a tempting offer could be enough to pry him loose. Here's the kicker. What if Cleveland included David Njoku in the deal? The tight end is on a contract year, has already been floated in trade rumors, and could give the Giants a reliable target to help their young quarterback, Jackson Dart. If the Browns are leaning toward moving Njoku anyway, why not do it to fill your biggest roster hole? It's a classic win-win scenario. Illuminor's contract is also up soon, but if Cleveland can land him now and extend him later, it shores up the tackle position for years to come. Let's keep this rolling, Browns fans, because the trade scenarios don't stop there. Rick Woolen, the Seahawks cornerback who burst onto the scene with 6 interceptions in 2022, is another name linked heavily to the trade block. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Cleveland just dealt Greg Newsome in the Tyson Campbell swap, and while Campbell showed flashes in his Browns debut, hanging with guys like DK Metcalf on certain plays, there's no question the cornerback room still lacks depth. And with the Browns' defensive system thriving under Jim Schwartz, a player like Woolen could be a perfect developmental fit. He's got the size, the ball skills, and the raw athleticism to excel in this system, especially with Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson already holding it down on the outside. Imagine adding Woolen into that rotation. With Schwartz coaching him up, this could be the next big defensive steal. Seattle reportedly has depth at corner and could afford to let Woolen go, especially with his slower start in 2025. And this is exactly the type of low-risk, high-upside move that Barry specializes in. You're not just filling a hole, you're adding long-term talent at a premium position. Remember, in today's NFL, you can never have too many corners. They're like pass rushers and tackles, absolutely essential if you want to contend deep into the playoffs. Speaking of tackles, let's double back to Jermaine Illuminor because his name deserves even more attention. He's not just a decent lineman. He's a necessity. Conklin's durability is a legitimate red flag. Rookie tackles are a coin toss, and everyone else the Browns have trotted out to protect their quarterbacks this year has struggled. We're seeing far too many negative plays coming off the edge, and that can't continue if you expect to keep your young quarterbacks, Harold Fannin Jr. and whoever else is suiting up, upright, and developing. What makes Illuminor so attractive is his flexibility. He's played left tackle. He's played right guard. He's succeeded as a right tackle, which is exactly what Cleveland needs right now. And even though the Giants would prefer to keep him, every team has a price. And if David Njoku is that sweetener, so be it. Let's be honest, Njoku has been solid, but he's also replaceable. Tight end is not the weakest position group on this team. And if you can swap a pending free agent tight end for a starting caliber tackle, you do that deal 10 times out of 10. Especially considering that 4 of the 5 Browns tackles are heading for free agency in 2026. This is your shot to get ahead of the rebuild curve. You make the move, you lock up the position, and you let Barry work his contract magic in the offseason. Now let's zoom out and look at the full trade landscape the Browns are navigating. We're talking Chris Olave, Jacoby Myers, Jalen Waddle, Rick Woolen, and Jermaine Illuminor, 5 names with real credibility behind the trade chatter, and all of them address massive needs on the roster. And the best part? Cleveland actually has the assets to get deals done. Picks, players on expiring contracts, and cap flexibility give Barry the ammunition to make one or more of these moves happen. This isn't just speculation. It's momentum. The Browns are one of the few teams aggressively working both sides of the trade market, buying and selling. It's chess, not checkers. Moving Greg Newsome while grabbing Tyson Campbell. Letting go of Joe Flacco while